And I stood there, and I looked up, and I said, God, I remember, say, if they chase us out of this place, then you didn't call me. And I'm just going to shut it down, and that will be a sign that this fellowship was never ordained of God. So this is UI Gate where I was started from, and I remember coming to UI for the first time in 1995, early 1995, and when I got to the gate, the Lord said I should remove my shoes, stand in front of the gate and possess the campus, and I did that. And the security men were looking at me. I just stood in front of the gate. My first visit ever to UI, removed my shoes, and I said, Lord, in the name of Jesus, I possess this campus for you in Jesus' name. And I wore my shoe back and I entered. So this gate is very, very significant. We're here at Balewa Cafe, where it all started from. After almost 2 years of fasting and praying, the fellowship took off right inside this place. And I remember the very day, that was 26th of June, 1997. We were here, and the first program we had was called Christian Freshers Conference. And we're right inside this hall. And I remember the pulpit was here, right in front there. I borrowed equipment from Redeemed Christian Fellowship in UI. Some of my friends were here as ushers. I still remember Efe, Buki, and Funke. I mean, they were here to support because we were just starting. And it was a very powerful meeting. I remember my message that day was titled the prophetic UI from Genesis 28. And that was how we started. And so as we were just about to start, the warden walked in. And he said, he just went to the woman, because we rented this place from the woman that used to operate the cafe there. So the warden just walked in and he said, oh, you guys get out. You can't have the program here. And he started ranting, and he was calling the security and was ready to throw us out. And the moment he said that, he was causing a scene there. I just went here. I remember I went out, right there. And I stood there, and I looked up, and I said, God, I remember, say, if they chase us out of this place, then you didn't call me. And I'm just going to shut it down, and that will be a sign that this fellowship was never ordained of God. And I was just saying that. And as I was coming back in, the warden just said, oh, you could have it, but don't come back tomorrow. And that's how we started, and it was such a very powerful program. I think we had over 100 people in attendance. The whole place was packed, and it was just, so that's the beginning. So this is Balewa Cafe, where it all started from, exactly 6 p.m., 26th of June, 1997. I mean, memories, looking around this place. Of course, it's not like it used to be in those days, but it's a whole lot of history. So this is how VHF started. So what Converts Honor Foundation that was celebrating 5 years after took off from here, right inside this room, inside this Balewa Cafe. So like I said, the warden said we could use the place as Balewa Cafe. So we're now at Zika. So it was a 2-day meeting, so we had to come back here for the second day. And the pulpit was there. And I remember people came also, so we stationed somebody there at Balewa, which is just across the road. They were directing people here. And so we had a great time. And I remember my friend who was around to team up with me is Pastor Kumenanio. I just spoke with him on phone, just to acknowledge. So that was the only time we used it. So Zika is also part of our history, so we had to use this place for the second day of the meeting, which was a Saturday. The first day was a Friday, so it was a Saturday. And by next Wednesday, we're at Conference Center. We'll go to Conference Center. All right. Room A8 Independence Hall. This was the very first place that I stayed in UI. You can imagine this room. Came in as a fresher. That's September 1995. And so I was not even the owner of the room. It was my friend Folabi Shodipo, who is now my brother-in-law. You can imagine, it's now my brother-in-law. My brother married a sister. And so he was the one who I was cutting with him, in that corner there. And we're looking at everywhere now. So 27 years ago, this is where the Son of Man was domiciled. And we thank God. And it was from there we started praying and preparing for VHF. So all the preparatory praying, studying, while waiting for the right time, they were all done in this room. So that's why this room is very strategic. A8 Independence Hall. So they call this place Katanga Republic. So they call us greatest Katangites. Most of the riots started from here, from Zik. So this quadrangle was a very powerful part of our story. And we used to, I remember in those days in 1995, when I came in the first night, I was at A8 Independence of the 1995 September. So I just heard people praying. So I just got to know that people used to pray here. And I remember from that first night, I came out. So this was where I used to pray. I used to pray here, of this place. Come out as early as 1 a.m. At times I'm here till 6 a.m. Just praying for 5 hours, praying in tongues. And you see other people pray. So people used to pray. For a lot of fellowships used to do the early morning cries around here. Between 1995, 1996, 1997. You see people just in different meeting groups everywhere. So particularly I used to be here. Almost every morning, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., you'll find me here. Just praying, and you see other people, pockets of people around there. So it was like a praying field. I mean, you can imagine at that time, people used to pray everywhere here. I mean, that was 27 years ago, 26 years ago. But the whole place is looking different now. I remember that walkway, you'd just be praying, or in front of this senior common room, or is this junior common room? I can't even remember what it was called. Then some people would be praying inside the cafe. But this whole quadrangle, early in the morning, different people praying, and I really enjoy praying here. You see this lecture theater? This was the first place where I spoke in UI, where I preached. So everybody was waiting, it was 995, our very first lecture. There was no lecturer. Everybody was waiting for the first class of our set. And the guy went out, cracked some jokes, and that one went out, and the Holy Spirit just said, "Are you not going to be a witness for me here?" And as I wanted to stand up, the guy seated by my side, who was my friend, said, "Don't do this. I don't want to." He knew I didn't even answer him. I just took off. And I stood in front there, and I preached my very first sermon in UI, right inside here. My very first message in UI was preached inside here. This is the Faculty of Science lecture that I call it FLT. And that day, after I finished preaching, I called for a meeting of everyone who is a believer. So we met here. And to my great surprise, I said, if you know that Jesus is Lord, and you're not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, join me at the lakeside after class. Then after class, you just see crowd, everybody. Just join me right there at this lakeside. So this place is significant. It was the beginning of ministry. Whenever VHF started, the first preaching of the gospel in UI was done right inside here. So this is the lakeside. So we all gathered here. It wasn't this bushy there. Everybody gathered. This was where we used to have the lakeside meeting. And it now became a regular meeting. We just say all the believers, let's meet at the lakeside, and everybody will gather here. That was how it started though. So this is seminar room 1, where we all started. Our first meeting was there. What we did at Balewa Cafe and Zig or were events to start the fellowship, but the first fellowship meeting was right here where I'm seated. And we had 7 people. And one of those 7 people was Dr. Daniel Faruna. And so thank God that was how VHF started, right there in this room with 7 people. And with time, we started growing. So we're using only one half of the hall. They would draw this curtain to separate In no time, we started using the other half. And in no time, we started using that room downstairs there. And in no time, within one session, by the time we were looking for the next session, we moved fully into the main auditorium. And that's how we started using the main auditorium. And so this place is a piece of history. And a lot of the strategic leadership training back in the day, even after we left this place, took place inside this room. So most of the leadership capacity building program were in here. And that was how it started. All right? Well, this is the main auditorium conference center University of Ibadan. This was where VHF became VHF. It was when we moved into this place, the fellowship just exploded. I mean, look around. You won't believe that in those days, this place never used to take us. We were that big. As a matter of fact, this whole of the center, we used to arrange chairs. They used to give us all these plastic chairs. Then every available free space, we put plastic seats, and they were never enough. So in most cases, I and the pastors, we used to sit here. In fact, this was where we used to sit. We never used to sit. So we used to sit here. Because there was nowhere again for us to sit. I remember when we first come to fellowship, we'll be here. We used to be in between those two seats. But by the time there was no space again, so we would now be forced to move here. So I used to sit here. This was my seat. So worship is going on. I'll just be here. Then whenever I want to go and preach, I'll go down and preach. So while here, I'll be scribbling notes. Pastor Murray will be beside me. So I'll just write, I said, sweetheart, just watch your main guy about to deliver God's counsel. I love you. I'll just give it to her as I'm going down. Just between myself and I, Lord. So look around. I mean, this place used to be filled. Then we used to have overflow. If you come late in those days, you might not be able to enter. Filled. And who is who in the body of Christ came here to minister? We've had Pastor Bakri, Reverend Sam, Reverend Victor, Pastor Femi Oduwole just mentioned. It used to be a very popular venue. People come here. So this was the signature of VHF. This was where VHF was formed as it is. It was when we moved in here, we experienced an explosion. We used to keep our equipment up there. They gave us space. Inside those rooms used to be. But then eventually they gave us inside here. And so this was VHF, this conference center. This is number 3 Pepper Road, UI. This was my first off-campus accommodation. I was living in this BQ right here. I was staying with Professor Alabi. Professor Alabi, let me say something about Professor Alabi. Professor Alabi is one of the best humans on the face of the earth, because Professor Alabi just gave myself and Toye this room without collecting a dime for us in 1997. That's exactly 5 years ago. And such a wonderful man. And of course, the daughters and the son, they are friends with us. They used to come from the main house, come and play with us at the BQ. They were in ISI then. Eventually they came into UI, and they were also in VHF. So that was how Prof got to know I was a pastor of the campus fellowship. And he used to call me Gio, pastor, because he didn't know. I never told him I was a pastor. It was when his sons, the daughters entered UI, I decided to come to, and I like that guy in the BQ. He's our pastor, you know. So a lot of things happened here. This was where I was living as a pastor of VHF. I mean, you can imagine people used to flock into this place. In fact, that became an issue between myself and Prof. Because Prof will be counting, and Prof will come out and say, Dele, 40 people have come here today. What are they looking for? You know, he didn't know I was a pastor. He was just wondering why people always coming. So this is 3 Pepper Road. This was where we prayed. I prayed in this place. So this is a prayer room. I mean, the volume of prayer that has gone into this place, studied the word, prayed, listened to messages. During the holidays, I wouldn't go home. I would be here all by myself, just praying, just studying, just praying in tongues, just praying. Then I used to walk down this road all the way to the dam there. There's one, the Oba Dam. Walk all the way early in the morning, not just be praying. And because it was a very good place, people used to come during the holidays, people would come. I remember a lot of senior men of God had come here to see me. I remember Reverend Airport parking his car here one of those times, came around, OGs, Reverend Binka Kotila, the late Prophet Richard Ashaulu, one of them will all come here. Pastor Tawile Moshe, everybody used to bunk here, sleep here during the holidays, and just whenever they just want to get out of the square, everybody will come here. And of course, we had a lot of mangoes, a lot of oranges, a lot of grapefruit. So whenever we gave our pocket money to fellowship and there was no money, so we'll just live on fruit. So 3 Purple Road, one of the most important landmarks in our UI journey. And I just thank God for this place. It was an ideal place for me at that time as a pastor of fellowship, so that I could be away from people and I could just do my thing. So again, I'm eternally grateful to Professor Alabi for donating the place. It was actually a donation because he didn't collect it there. Good man. And God bless him. So there's no way we can tell our story without mentioning Professor Alabi. And of course, number 3, Purple Road. All right, so this is Purple Road, UI. I mean, this place is very, very historical. It's a major part of my story because it was while walking my wife down this road. We're just distant, we're just coming from there. And we're just talking, and I remember we got somewhere here. And she just looked at me and she said, "What exactly do you want?" Because as I painted the picture of the future, what the future is going to look like, that, and I like her to be in that future, those kind of. And she just said, "What exactly?" So it was just right at that spot where that tripod is. I said, "What I want?" I just said, "I want you." And that's how the story started. So it was just right here, 1999. That's 23 years ago. 23 years ago, yeah. But of course, we knew ourselves before then, but it was right there. So this, apart from the house on number 3, it also happened that she said yes, right. No, she didn't say yes. She got the message right here because it was a few days after in Lagos. I had to now travel to Lagos to go and get the yes. But the asking out happened here. So they set the foundation and laid the foundation for the love that you see today. So Purple Road, UI. So this is B16 Telawal, the last room where I stayed in UI as a final year student. So this whole place was filled with tapes. And my mattress should be here. This should be here. Then my neighbors on. And we used to cook there. Well, I hardly cooked. And the people in the laundry here, they told me to do my clothes. So one of them signed out to do my clothes for me. And so this was the place. What people knew about this place, every time they were passing, they would just be hearing messages going on. Usually it was Bishop Oyedepo in those days, just because I had over 3,000 of his messages. I just saw it starting, Ghana must go back in. And then all my books started. And there should be a reading table here. Because I never read outside of the room. I never read in library. I don't know. I mean, I didn't know then how to read outside of the room. I was always in the room most of the time. And because it was final year, just do my thing. Between here and at times I'll go to Purple Road. But for the most part, I'll be here. So this is a piece of history, and prayer investment in this space was heavy. And we stayed in here praying tongues for the next 7 hours, praying tongues for 8 hours. Just praying, I've been listening to messages, reading the Bible. I'm happy I'm seeing a man of God here too. Just digesting the word. Are you fellowship person? No. It's okay. We are just digesting the word. So where are you reading? John chapter number 4. Yes, wow. Wow. Interesting. So those words written in red, take you to them. Because that is the living God, the living word himself, giving us perspective. Imagine what a privilege to be able to hear the very words of Jesus coming out of his mouth and recorded for us. And that's why we don't take those things for granted. That's the chapter I was dealing with the Samaritan woman. So, and the lessons we draw from that is that it doesn't matter how bad or how twisted or how bent you think you are, Jesus has a message for you. Imagine the kind of woman he was hanging out with. She had 5 husbands, the one she was with was no longer even her husband. And she was theologically correct. She even told Jesus that, oh, you just said, this mountain, we Samaritan, blah, blah. Jesus has said, both of you are wrong. The time has come and now he's the true worshippers will worship the Father in spirit and truth, for the Father seeks to worship him. So you are doing the right thing. So that means there's an investment in this room that is compelling you to study. Because that was what this room was meant for. It's a study. What's the name? I'm telling you something that what department are you? Okay, and Rehoboth. Wow. The Lord has made room for us. Hours. Just praying, and it was a very wonderful one, and blessed be God. Blessed be God.